All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Hook the Line. The playoffs are finally upon us. We've got college football playoffs in the coming weeks. The first round matchups have been released, so we're going to be taking a look at a couple of those today. I think, without being said, there are a couple that kind of seem like shoe-ins, so we may not talk about those two, but real quickly, we'll just go ahead and predict them before we get into our prediction. I have JMU losing, and then Tulane also losing.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I mean, I think a lot of people are going to agree with this, maybe except the fans of, our group of five teams. But it's going to take a lot for JMU and Tulane to pull out these upsets on the road. I think Tulane's more likely than JMU, just because already played each other, already played Ole Miss. It wasn't close, so that kind of makes me seem like it's really hard to come. But I think that game will be close, and we'll see how the new interim coach does for Ole Miss. But I pray for JMU and that football program when they go to Eugene. That's for sure.
Yeah, so I quickly before anybody says we're not doing those two, we just did them right now. So
Yeah,
one though, the one we're going to be
saved
talking
you the
about
time.
episode right here, we are talking about Alabama going on the road to Oklahoma, a rematch of earlier in the season in which Oklahoma won 23 to 21 in Tuscaloosa. So now you get the flip-flop. It's a night game at 8 p.m. Spread is laying right now at 1.5 for Alabama. So seems like a toss-up. Also, they think it's going to be a slugfest at an over-under of 40.5. Who do you like in this
Jeez.
rematch?
Yeah. Um, yeah, one of a few rematches that we'll probably see. Um, this is a tight one. That first matchup was a really ugly game. Looks like they're gonna foresee another ugly game um, in next week. But yeah, Alabama really did not play well in that game. Three turnovers. Ty had the pick. They muffed a punt. They really played pretty sloppy, and I think Oklahoma played really fundamentally sound on defense and special teams. Um, they, Bama, they blocked Bama's kick late in the first half, and then was able to build on the momentum to win that game. So I mean, a lot of people might sway that way just because of how that game looked. But if you peel it back, Alabama did outgain them by a significant margin through the air. Um, but there were some costly turnovers that Oklahoma was able to build points off of, which in the end swung the game in their favor. Um, but as for this game, I think that's something to build off of if you're Alabama, especially after last week too, with losing the SEC championship by a lot. You're kind of desperate for a good football game. Um, I kind of want to see them, move Ty Simpson a lot in this matchup, like especially on third downs, like move in the pocket, trying to neutralize the pass rush because that's something that's been a strength for them all year. Um, Maybe some bootlegs because I think they can win this game if they put up 20 plus, right? Oklahoma offense isn't really a threat, and that's kind of indicative of the over under that we see. But I expect Ty Simpson to get the ball out to his running backs, to his tight ends, try not to force the ball downfield because they gave it to him a lot in that first matchup. Make him go the length of the field. Oklahoma's probably going to do a good job on special teams, pinning them deep, making you earn your points going all the way down the field. Um, so yeah, that's probably the key for Alabama. And in terms of Oklahoma, right? If they can repeat the success that they had on defense and special teams, obviously that's a plus. But they've had a few struggles with their pre-snap penalties, false starts. They had a couple of legal formations, and then the offensive holdings. So I think if they're play clean, limit the penalties. Obviously, like every football team wishes they could do, but that's kind of their key. They got to play clean and try and force the hand of Alabama to turn the ball over, block punts, block kicks, and do all the little details to the best of their ability. But it's tough for me to see Oklahoma doing it twice, given everything that's happened. And I have Alabama winning, and I have Alabama winning in an ugly score. I think it's tight. I think that there's a lot of field goals. I think that these are two teams that respect each other's red zone defenses. So, touchdowns might be hard to come by. So I have them winning 23-19. I think that's a gross score, but I
Monsters Inc.
think it's literally going to come down to like who can maybe score that touchdown more to push them over the edge because I think it's going to be a lot of settling for three. Um, but yeah, I think Bama gets the best of the Sooners in the rematch.
Yeah, 23-19. Shockingly, that is an over. So, there you go. 23-19. Shout out James P. Sullivan for knocking our boy Nick Damiano out of the playoff. Sugarland Stonefish not making it again. 7-7 was not enough this year. Congrats to Marshall Wang. Just want to put that out there. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an ugly game. Vegas kind of, it seems that way just with the 40.5 as well. Some big things, though, to note. I know Alabama struggled as of recent on offense. The whole year, it kind of seems like they were cruising. Then the last couple of weeks, seems like teams have kind of figured them out or so. I think it has a little bit to do with their injuries, and they're getting a lot of guys back for this game. So they're getting Jam Miller right now, supposed to play. They're running back. I mean, -3 rushing yards against Bama. Part of that is Jam Miller not being there. Part of that is also just like you can get that with your backup. Like net -3 rushing yards is not good. There were some sacks in there that obviously play into that with college rules, how the yards work out. But they get their running back. Also, Josh Cuevas, their tight end, really big player for him. He's been out the last
Huge.
couple of weeks. It's been a little bit of a storyline, just him not being able to play, and they utilize him a lot, whether it's blocking, pass game, things like that. Giving Ty Simpson kind of an outlet, especially with this pressure, a guy that he can look at real quick. I think the running back and the tight end position really, really help against the top defense like Oklahoma. Because you think about when their D line gets pressure in quick, Ty's got to get the ball out quickly. Those receivers might not have time to get open, but who do you look at? You look at your checkdowns, you look at your running backs, you look at your tight ends. So having those safety positions to dump it off to are really, really big for Alabama in this game. So I think those are huge. They've also got a cornerback and a linebacker coming back. They're not even coming back. They went out of the SEC championship game against Georgia. They're going to be healthy, ready to play again. So just a huge injury boost for Alabama. Oklahoma on the other side, I think we've talked all year. You've been a little bit more vocal than I have about it. Just about Oklahoma in general, kind of somehow staying in the picture. And credit to them, they win the games. They win the games that they need to, but they're never pretty. They're never convincing. So it never makes you feel comfortable with taking Oklahoma. What I do feel a little bit comfortable with, though, 8 o'clock in Norman, you
Yeah.
got a real home field advantage. I mean that is not something to mess around with. And as an Alabama team that has to figure things out quickly, coming off an SEC championship where like they've been riding their hat about that they've been able to beat Georgia for the last couple of years. That's been their thing. Now you lose that, you gotta gain something, or else
Yep.
people are knocking on Kalen DeBoer's door. I don't think it'll be because of they made the playoffs, so he's not in huge jeopardy there. But you really need a performance to kind of win everybody back over if you're Kalen DeBoer, because that Georgia win is now negated based on the SEC championship game.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. And I do think they get it done. I'm going to agree with you here. So I got Alabama winning this game again in ugly fashion. I have 21-17. So very similar to your score, a 4-point win, just a little bit lower scoring. I think Alabama was able to get in the end zone when they get in the red zone, a little bit less field goals. In Oklahoma on the other side, I have settling for a couple more field goals than that. But in general, it'll be a slugfest. But I do think Alabama's got the firepower back in their lineup to be able to compete at a high level offensively once again. Brett Venables' defense, obviously great, but I've got Alabama coming on top in this one.
Yeah. Would have been curious to see this game on a neutral field because I feel like it does give Oklahoma a little bit of a boost, and I think people will agree with that. But you know, that should be a great atmosphere for the first game of this year's playoff, without a doubt.
Yeah, and it's interesting because then the winner of that sets up, a matchup against Indiana in the Rose Bowl, and it's kind of like who do you want to play against Indiana in the end? Because I think we talked about this a little bit before. I don't feel comfortable with Oklahoma playing Indiana at all. I think it's a bad matchup for them, and you're going to have to put up points against Indiana. I feel a little bit better, but in general, both these teams are going to have to go through a gauntlet if they want to make any sort of big noise in the playoffs.
I agree. Definitely, Bama's definitely the better shot at Indiana. I think this is unfortunately a tough draw for both of them. So whoever gets the luxury of playing Indiana, unfortunately, think that they're going to be introduced to the belt. So
Yeah.
that's for another video. But yeah, that's all I got for this one.
Yeah, exciting 8-9 matchup. I'm excited for that one. Really, really fun that it's going to be at night. It is going to be the first game as well of the college football playoffs. So, like, what a way to kick it off.
Mm-hmm.
We also, that's another thing, we talked about. It's like you're starting out really strong, maybe ending not as strong. So, there's something said for that, but also never a bad thing to just come out guns blazing at the start of the college football playoffs. So, I'm excited to watch this one. I'm excited to watch the ones on Saturday, but yeah, can't wait to get to it.
Yep.